everyone. Welcome to Mission to Inspire. My name is Shola, and we're joined by Dr. Emmett. Hi, Dr. Emmett. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. It's actually morning where I am. I'm in the UK.
Yes, well, here we are on the other side of the world, able to see and hear each other. Isn't that great?
That is great. That is great. So, where are you?
I'm in Bowral, which is near Sydney in Australia.
Australia. Oh my God. Wow, that is actually the other part of the world, really. Ah, okay, so we're joined by Dr. Emmett, who will be talking to us about some of the things that he's up to, some of the things that he's doing. I'm not going to read his bio because I think it's best to come from the horse's mouth. He's going to introduce himself properly, tell us what he's doing, what he's about to do, and then we dive in. So I'll leave that to you now to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you.
I am a retired reconstructive plastic surgeon, and I retired and then retrained for 5 years as an artist. And during two of those years, I did weekly sessions of deeper meditation to study my conscious at different higher levels. And, we live in our consciousness. We have both conscious thoughts and an unconscious mind. And what we are, what we do, relates to our consciousness. You think, therefore you are. But that's your everyday conscious that you live and you create the reality of your life in. But the bigger part of your consciousness is in your unconscious mind.
Right.
And we join that in sleep. And sleep, we learn a lot in sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we we get advice, we have dreams, and we only remember it for a short time because it works at a higher frequency than our everyday conscious. The different levels of consciousness work at different vibrational frequencies, a bit like radio stations. You can change the frequency to change the level.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a subconscious, which has been well recognized and accepted since the time of Freud, studying mental illness and the effect on the subconscious.
Yeah.
So we also have a higher conscious, which connects us to higher dimensions, realms, and gives us much knowledge. All
Mm.
of these levels of our consciousness blend in together, and we mostly don't realize the potential we have in our different conscious levels. Yes. Would
Wow.
you like to
No,
comment on that?
yeah, yeah. Wow. That that it's a lot of information there because as you said, consciousness, our subconscious, a lot of us don't even understand how we go from our consciousness to our subconscious and how they interact and how they interrelate and affect us on a daily basis. So yeah. So is that what you is that your specialty in spirit?
No, I was a reconstructive surgeon, but
Yeah.
I studied the response in my patients in both their conscious level
Mhm.
in conversations like this, but also in their subconscious.
Right.
You know that when we are a baby being formed in our mother's uterus
Mhm.
womb, consciousness comes in to the brain and the body. Every cell in your body is separately alive and conscious. And what you think affects the way they behave. So
Right.
that if you're happy and loving and forgiving,
Mm-hmm.
this puts your cells in the body into a much better, healthier state.
Right.
So to be well,
Mm-hmm.
be happy, think well, and
Yeah.
you will be,
Yeah.
because all of your consciousness radiates to all of your cells in the body. And so by being happy,
Mm-hmm.
you are well.
Yeah. Yes.
Avoid hatreds,
Mm-hmm.
anger,
Mm-hmm.
and that sort of thing, because that makes you unwell.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Wow. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that clarity. Thank you. We're going to dive in straight into this or that. There are 5 questions there. It shouldn't take us more than 5 minutes. And then we go straight into our interview questions for today. My first this or that question is: would you prefer teaching in a classroom or engaging in a one-to-one mentoring session with your clients?
Um, I do both. I
Oh,
have always taught students, medical students, doctors.
yeah,
I've been a tutor, a lecturer, a professor, and
right.
I like all of those.
Mhm.
Um, when I'm talking to people, I
Yeah.
gauge their response to what I'm saying,
Okay.
because part of the transmission of knowledge lies in the response of the person who is listening and learning.
Okay.
We all learn, and
Yes.
in teaching, you learn.
Yeah. True. True. In
And
teaching,
as you give, you receive.
it's true. As you give, you receive. Wow. That's very true. A lot of people don't understand that. That as you give, you receive, and as you learn, you unlearn. Oh my goodness me. Wow. Okay, so are you more drawn to creating subcles that reflects physical beauty or those that invoke emotional response?
Well, I repaired deformities in children,
Oh, do you?
and I studied the response in the children I repaired. For
Oh,
example, I would repair a child with a cleft lip or a cleft palate,
yeah.
and I would do the lip at 3 months of age, the palate at a year of age, but I would follow them for the next 15, 16, 18 years as they
Wow.
grew and
Wow.
developed.
Mm,
And so we all, as we're born, we form a self image.
right.
And that self image is very important. It's held in the subconscious,
Mm,
and it leads you to be what you want to be.
right.
So, in the first 2 years of a child's life, it learns love. It has to learn love in those 2 years, or it will never really understand it. And
Right.
love is the most important thing in our lives.
Right. Yeah. Mm,
And what you teach a child in the first 7 years are filed in its self image in the subconscious, and will be what that child follows and wants for
mm,
its life.
yeah. Okay.
So these things are held in the subconscious. You know, the unconscious mind is much faster than the conscious mind. And in your subconscious, you retain patterns of thinking, for example, which you
Mhm,
learn
mhm.
mostly at home and then later in school, university, and other things. But it's what you learn in the first couple of years that is so important. And we need to recognize that what we do and give example to
Mhm.
children
Yeah.
stays with them for life.
It
The
does.
thinking pattern, the thinking pattern that you're using now, when
Mm,
you listen to me and look at me, the thinking pattern you use, you learned when you were very young and you filed it in your subconscious. We don't realize that we're all using different thinking patterns. So, for example, the image that is coming from your eye to your brain is upside down. This was first described by Kepler in 1500. He was the one who did the 4 laws of astronomical movement. What happens is that in your subconscious mind, you invert the image, but not only that, you also interpret it. All of the information coming from our senses, our hearing, touch, everything is interpreted in your subconscious before it gets to your conscious. Very interesting.
Wow. 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 Thank you so much for that. I'm actually learning a lot of things. I'm learning a lot of things as we go along. I'm learning.
So understand that you are thinking now. That's your everyday conscious, the reality you've made for yourself in this life. But the larger part of your consciousness is your unconscious mind, and it controls the way your bodies run. For example, you don't, in your conscious mind, run your body. You do that in your unconscious mind. But also in your unconscious mind, you connect with your higher conscious, in which you connect with all that is, the consciousness that runs the world, the universe. You are connected to that. And that's why in your higher self, you are very powerful. And when you want a thing, if you hold it in your mind with vivid reality, it will come to pass. There's a lot of evidence of this, and it's recorded in many teachings.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Know what you want and hold it and believe it. The important thing in getting this to become real is to believe it and hold it with belief.
Wow, wow, wow. So whatever we hold on to in our consciousness, and it goes into our subconscious, and we have to believe and hold on to it. So it's like having faith in something and holding so tight in it.
Yes, you vividly see it in your mind, hold it so that it goes into your higher conscious and radiates to the whole of infinity.
Right.
Because you, in your higher conscious, are connected to the infinity of the universe, which people call God. And you have that within in your higher consciousness. Know that and believe it, and you never have to worry about anything.
Wow. Wow. That's an eye opener for me personally. It is an eye opener. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Thank you for that clarity, for explaining it so you've actually simplified it the way you've explained our consciousness, our subconsciousness, and how we need to believe in something to be able to achieve it, to be honest.
Yes.
Wow.
That's very true. And the important thing, I explain all of this in my book, Your Unique Consciousness, because each of us does have a unique consciousness. It's like a one-off code, the consciousness that comes into we forming as a baby in our mother's uterus. That consciousness directs the formation of the body, the cells, and every cell has that consciousness in it. So it picks up what you're thinking and it will do as you wish. So you want to think of what you want, not what you want to avoid. Avoid thinking about what you don't want. Think about what you do want. That's the technique.
This is the technique. Hey, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Oh my goodness. So continue from where we stopped. I know we were discussing when we were discussing when we were talking before we went on that break, we were talking about consciousness, subconsciousness, and you were giving us instances and an example. So going on from that, so if in your own journey of learning and teaching, do you actually value traditional academy settings or unconventional settings?
Oh, yes, of course. All knowledge is good.
Okay.
And what we've been talking about is consciousness
Yes.
and how we live in our everyday consciousness.
Yes.
And we learn, we go to sleep, it's a separate level, a higher frequency,
Yes.
and we learn much while we're asleep. But
Yes.
we also have other levels of consciousness, our self we have um, all kinds of levels of higher consciousness,
Right.
and we learn from that. We our consciousness begins when we're a baby, forming in our mother's uterus,
Yeah.
and the consciousness then comes in, and all the cells in your body are conscious. So
Right.
you were born, and in your first 2 years, you learn love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in the first 7 years, you are taught
Right.
various things by your parents and society. And
Yeah.
these are filed in the self image in your subconscious, and they're a lifelong influence.
Okay.
We can improve what we're doing by working on it, by working on our self image. The
Mm-hmm.
self image, each of us has a self image. It was, we were born with it. And um, all the cells of our body are alive. So when we're happy
Mm-hmm.
and we send happiness to the cells of our body, we're well. And if you're angry and bitter, you send that to the cells of your body and you're not so well. You
Right.
can control what you are and how you are, but you've got to believe what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so you are able to influence your progress through life by what you hold in your mind.
And what we hold in our mind. Okay. Wow.
Yes. So you hold happiness and the belief that you can do whatever it is well. You
Yeah.
hold that in your mind and you'll do it well. But you must believe it and you must hold it firmly.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives you great ability. And you know this already.
Yes.
I'm just repeating what you already know.
I know. I know. I know. Thank you so much for that insight.
And you are connected to a higher consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
which works at a higher frequency, and that controls your access to higher dimensions of being. God is absolute consciousness, and we are connected through our deeper levels of consciousness, so
Right.
that you are never alone. You never need to be lonely because you are connected in your consciousness to
Yeah.
higher levels of being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Once you understand and know that and hold it in your mind, it gives you great ability and power. You can always improve yourself by being kind to other people and helping them because we are all one in our consciousness. We don't know this while we're alive in this life,
Mm.
but you can know it and you can believe it. And this is a wonderful gift that you have, but you have to believe you have it before you will have it.
Yes. 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 So we have to believe we have it before we even have it.
Yes, that's right. You must believe in yourself and
Right.
in your higher conscious ability,
Yes.
and then it will be yours.
Mm. Mm. Wow. 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 You know, in Christianity, we say faith. Having faith.
Sorry?
I said in Christianity, right, in religion, we say faith. Having faith in something means
Yes,
have faith in something before it's manifested, before you have it. So it's like believing in something, believing in that thing before you have it.
yes, and essentially believe in the goodness of all things.
Right.
Believe in love,
Believe in
and you will have it.
yeah.
Believe whatever it is you want in life,
Right.
believe that you will have it, and hold that firmly with conviction.
Mm, mm, mm,
It's been known for a very long time, but we lose sight of it in
mm.
this modern age where we're caught in the electronics, as we are now. But you must believe that
Believe.
you have the ability to do these things, the ability to love, the ability to perform, the ability to be wonderful.
Wow.
Believe that, and you will.
Wow. 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 That's having no doubt whatsoever. Just believe, and we would have whatever we want. Great.
Yes,
Thank
but
you.
you must hold the idea firmly and with conviction.
With conviction.
Remember that you are connected through your deeper levels of consciousness
Yes.
to all that is the power of creation in the universe.
Right.
And we are all connected. We are all joined together in
Yeah.
our spiritual reality. For
Yeah.
each of us is truly an eternal spirit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we have had many lives before this, and you'll have many after. But it may not be in this dimension, this earth, because there are many dimensions of reality around this.
Wow. Okay.
And it is the frequency of the energy in matter that determines the different dimension.
Right. Right.
So everything is conscious.
Everything is conscious.
The rocks, the birds, the water, there
Yeah.
is a consciousness in all things. We
Right.
don't have the ability to understand that, but it's true. And a lot of people have investigated this and shown in different ways. And
Mm-hmm.
I record all of this in my book, Your Unique Consciousness. I
Mm.
talk about all the different people who've done this in different ways and the proof that they have provided that this is so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you can find my book on, if you look up Dr. Anthony J. Emmett on Amazon Central page, you will find a number of my books. And I attempt to give you all the evidence that what I've just said is true
Mm-hmm.
and that you can do it yourself.
Right. Okay. So if we want to purchase your book, you've just told us where to. Is that the only way we can purchase your book? Do you sell on other platforms like Amazon?
I have got a website which is dranthonyjemmett.com.au.
Yes.
Is a website, and it will connect you into Amazon Central page also.
Right. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. Um, what actually what inspired you to pursue your career in medicine?
Um, well, my father was a doctor and a surgeon in North Queensland,
Right.
and I watched the amount of good he could do in the lives of his patients.
Mhm.
And I was quite young when I decided to do medicine and surgery. And ultimately, I became a medical student, then a doctor, then a surgeon, then a reconstructive plastic surgeon. I could make things for people who didn't have them. I made ears for children who were born without them.
Oh my
I
God.
could make an eyelid for somebody who had it destroyed by one means or another.
Hmm.
And as you do these things for people, you study the effect
Yes.
that you're having on their subconscious, their self-image, and it all ties together. What we are is related in our consciousness.
Right.
But as I've said, there are not just one level. You have to go with the understanding that you are connected to all things,
Yes.
that consciousness is the energy of creation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so what we do for another, we do for ourselves because we're all connected. And so if you can forgive other people, you benefit yourself because um, it's all one. And if you hold anger and bitterness in your mind, you send that to all the cells of your body, and
Mm-hmm.
they won't work so well. The immune system, which keeps your body working well,
Yeah.
um, it's disabled when you are holding bitterness, anger, hatred.
Mm.
So when you forgive another person, you benefit yourself more than you benefit anybody else.
Right. So when we forgive other people, we benefit more by forgiving than the person we've actually who's offended us and that we are forgiven. Oh my God.
Yes, it improves your health. It improves your immune system. It
Okay.
makes you happy.
Right. Right. Wow. That's food for thought. I personally thought that when we forgive somebody, we are letting go of what we hold
Yes,
in our hearts. We're letting go.
that's right.
Yeah. By forgiving.
And the other thing is that when you die, your
Yeah.
spirit goes to another dimension. But if you are holding anger and bitterness when you die, you'll
Mhm.
probably have to come back and do another life to work that out. You should not be holding anger, bitterness, or hatred when you die. You should only hold forgiveness, love, and happiness.
Right. Right. I mean, you're
And
talking,
that works.
wow. You just said something now. You said something about going to another dimension. What?
Yes. Well, we are surrounded by other dimensions. This dimension, it's matter, material is all made of atoms. Now, each atom is like an energy field,
Mm-hmm.
and it has particles in it that vibrate at a particular frequency. And that particular frequency determines the dimension that you are in or go to. When we're asleep, we're in a different level, a different dimension, really. And astral travel is quite common in sleep, but we don't know it ourselves because we mostly forget it.
Mm-hmm.
But people have described methods of astral travel in other dimensions. And there are other worlds, but they're in a different dimension of reality, different frequencies of matter, like different radio stations or television stations is a comparison. We don't see these with our telescopes
Right.
of all kinds because they're in another dimension of vibration of matter.
Right. Okay.
Um, that's why spacecraft coming to Earth have to change dimension before we can see them.
Oh, okay. Right.
And
Space.
and similarly in your consciousness, you have different levels of consciousness which are at different frequency of energy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The sleep level that you go to,
Yeah.
um, you communicate a lot in your sleep level. But a lot of what you've learned
Mm-hmm.
will fade differently because of the different frequency of your conscious,
Right.
what we're using now, the level of consciousness is at a frequency. Sleep, it is at a different frequency, and the higher, and so is the subconscious. And the higher conscious is at a higher frequency again, difficult for our human conscious to sustain. So a lot of what you are told, you lose when you wake up.
Right. Okay. Okay.
That's why dreams fade quickly. That's why you need to have a little bedside notebook and pen to write down what you've just been taught. Many examples exist of people who've been told what they were wanting to know, and they think, oh, that's great, I'll do that in the morning, but it's forgotten. So you've got to write it down when it comes to you, otherwise you'll forget.
Forget it. Oh my God.
Because it's at a different frequency, a different vibrational frequency in the dimension of thought.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Now, they haven't been able to prove this yet, but they know it.
Mm.
However, people like to prove things. Well, proving reality in different dimensions of consciousness is difficult because we don't have an instrument that can measure it. Science is all about measuring things and making an analysis from the data that we collect.
Right.
With consciousness, we are unable to do that.
Unable to do that. Okay. 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 Wow. Transitioning from your successful surgical, career, uh,
Yes.
and then you went on to become an artist, is it?
No, I, after I retired, I retrained as an artist for 5 years.
Okay.
And during that retraining period, I spent 2 years doing an afternoon a week with deep meditation.
Uh,
And there I met Sai Baba, Sathya Sai Baba, who taught me a great deal
right.
about it all.
Okay.
And I went to see him in India 3 times while he was alive. He
Ah,
died in 2011,
right.
but he's still around in another dimension of being,
Okay.
and people communicate with him.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So he died, but he's still in another dimension of being, and people communicate.
Um, yes, when there are different levels of consciousness. In the higher conscious, it's
Mhm.
possible to communicate with people who are not in bodily life.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And this is recorded by many people. I quote a lot of this in my book,
Mhm.
so that you've got something to anchor onto.
Right. Okay. Yes. Wow.
Um, and one of the things about art is that it may appeal to your deeper levels of consciousness, what you've been before. I have had many lives that I've been able to know about from my 2 years of deep meditation, where I would regularly meet Sai Baba, even though I was in Australia and he was in India. But the level of consciousness transmits, and we're able to um, get into it because it's at a higher frequency, a higher voltage of energy. Our everyday consciousness that we're using now is quite slow. Um, and for example, it's possible to flash an image on the screen which your subconscious will register, but your everyday conscious misses it because that level is much slower.
Right. Okay.
And this is quite well recognized.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot about consciousness that you can learn. And I've put it down to help people understand themselves, understand what they're doing in this life,
Mm-hmm.
um, and to understand that they have had previous lives in which they have learned a great deal.
Yeah.
And it's a great influence. Many of my interests in this life come from what I've been in previous lives. And I was shown this during, and still know it, during periods of deeper meditation in which you get to a higher conscious level.
Right. Okay. Oh my God. Deeper meditation. And then you get to a higher frequency and vibration. It's very,
Yes.
very interesting. Very interesting. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. So can you share a particular memorable case that deeply impacted on your perspective of healing? Because I know it's something from, all your analogy and all, it's something that you've been doing from when you were really young, but what actually made you um really want to do what you're doing?
Well, in the Great Depression and in World War II, my father was the only doctor and surgeon in the area of tropics of North Queensland, Australia,
Okay.
and he would. In the 1930s, we repaired things. We didn't throw them away and buy a new one. So I, at really between the age of 7 and 9, I became the person who repaired things that were broken in the family. But I learned that if I didn't know how to do it,
Yes.
if I simply sat and waited, the knowledge would come to me. And
Right.
it's been like that all my life, that I've had a voice within that when I need to know something, it will come. And I thought I would find out how this happened when I was a medical student, but I didn't, or when I was a surgeon.
Yeah.
And so when I retired, I wanted to find where this inner wisdom came from.
Yes.
I believed everybody had it, but a lot of people don't seem to know about it. Socrates, the ancient Greek philosopher, he
Hmm.
used to say to people, look within for wisdom. That's what he was talking about.
Okay.
Um, we all have an inner voice,
Right.
and I sought to find out where the inner voice came from. And
Hmm.
that's how I became interested in. I really went into past lives to prove to myself that there was a dimension of being and knowing that we all share, but not while we're alive in this body. And
Right.
so to find the details of this, I
Hmm.
went into all of this investigation.
Yeah.
And to try and give this knowledge to other people, I've written books about it.
Mm. Mm.
I used to write surgical books
Okay.
about surgery when
Yeah.
I was a surgeon.
Yeah.
But after my studies on spirituality and other dimension, um, I felt the need to communicate some of this by doing it as books.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Wow. That is very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so in in your book, in one of your books that I was just looking at, I can't remember the title, but then you mentioned about studying spirituality um in addition to your medical knowledge and pursuits. Do you want to um expatiate on that, the aspects of the spirituality, and maybe
Um,
the meeting, yeah, the spirituality actually, yeah.
I've known from an early age that I would get knowledge or advice when I simply waited and asked for it with patience. It would always come. And I assumed that everybody had this, but a lot of people don't know they have it. Well,
Right.
we all have different levels of consciousness that we can go to. To a certain extent, you need to believe you can do it in order to be able to do it. But that applies to much in life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you believe you can do a thing, for example, I didn't start snow skiing until I was 40. And when I was going to ski that morning, I had to convince myself that I could do it well and I wouldn't fall over. And as long as I held that belief in my mind, I didn't fall over. But if I let it slip, then I did fall over, that is. So I could succeed while I believed I could succeed. And
Yes.
this applies to everything. As long as you believe you can do it,
Mm-hmm.
you can. But if you let the belief slip, it goes. So whenever you want to do something, believe firmly that you can do it. Whenever you want to have something, hold in your mind the firm conviction that you will have it. It may take a little while, but you have to hold the belief. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense that we have to believe firmly in whatever it is that we want to do. So any, even if it's just a second of disbelief or doubt, we're allowing it to sleep. And then that
Yes,
we might not be able to accomplish it because we've wavered in our belief. And
this is true. And it happens with a lot of sicknesses when you want to get better. If you can hold the belief that
mhm,
you will, that you are better,
yes.
that it will happen.
Mm,
But
mm,
people let the belief slip. They let doubt come in.
right.
Um, so um, I preferred to operate on people who would have a belief in the success, and that meant that, you see, when you embark on surgery in the body, it's a complex metabolic process, and it will go better if it's accompanied by belief in the subconscious or the higher conscious or the everyday conscious, because all those levels of consciousness communicate with each other. But if you can believe in the successful outcome of a thing, you improve its chances of
Mm,
occurring.
right. All right. Wow. We have to believe to see the success because if you don't believe, then the outcome might not be successful.
Because, see, all the world we're in is
Mhm.
part of the reality of this life.
Of this life. Oh,
And you connect into that reality of life through your higher consciousness.
God.
And when you believe a thing, you connect into it through your consciousness. You
Right.
don't, you can't feel this in your everyday living.
No. Mm.
And you can get into those levels by hypnosis. There was an American called Edgar Casey, who was a well-known medical diagnostician while he was. So what he'd do, his assistant read him a series of words that put him into a trance. And when in that higher level of consciousness, he
Mhm.
could go and look at the person who had asked for help, even in another town, another street, and he could scan the body and see what was wrong with it. He could then know what remedy would be best.
Now, he had an assistant. He had to dictate all of this to his assistant, because when he came out of the trance, he would remember none of it, because it was a different level of consciousness. That's the way the system works.
Right, right. Oh, wow. Wow.
So the first thing is to believe that you have different levels of consciousness, and that by getting into them, you can achieve, as Edgar Cayce did, as I did for 2 years, a session a week, getting into past lives. The first one they showed me had been 4,000 years ago, but the details on the inner screen of my mind were quite clear and quite detailed, and I could see it as readily, possibly more readily, than I can see you now.
Oh my God. So you traveled 4,000 years back.
Yes. It's held in what's called the Akashic records in the spiritual dimension. And a lot of people have done this. Sai Baba, who I went to see in India, could meet people and see what they'd been in their past lives as part of his assessment of. People would go to him for advice or healing, and he could read what they held in the deeper levels of consciousness in their mind. You carry all of this with you, but you can't access it in your everyday life, because if you could, it would take away from what you're doing now. A couple of quite well-known people were so aware of what they'd been in their previous lives that they had to forget that in order to get on with this life, to achieve what they'd come here for this life. We all come into this life with something we've agreed to do before we become consciousness in the mind of a baby in its mother's womb, and that consciousness will be with them when they're born. And they build up the everyday consciousness that they're working on, learning love, learning behavioral patterns from the family. And all of this is filed into the self-image, which is held in the subconscious. All different levels of consciousness. But the level that we're using now for this is only one level.
One level, right.
And we have many levels of consciousness. You don't know it, but you use them every day and every night when you're asleep.
Right, okay.
So all of this is put together, but there's a you that was before you were born this time. But this life that you're leading is adding to what you were, what you have been, and what you are. So that when you die, when your body dies, your consciousness simply moves to another energy level. And you know all of this. See, the first law of thermodynamics is that energy is not lost. It simply changes form. So that when your body dies, you keep your levels of consciousness. They're an energy form that doesn't die, and you take with you. So all the good things you've done in this life, all the fine things will go with you and will help to build up the you that is in the other dimensions of reality.
Right. Right. Oh, wow.
So is my voice coming across quite well?
Yes, yes, yes. I can hear you quite well.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Good. What's your next question?
Oh my God, my next question is about your books, especially the two books that you've written that explores the themes of consciousness, because that's what we were discussing today, and the theme of spirituality, the mystery of existence, which is exactly what we've actually talked about.
Well, yes, I've talked about the joy and power of your eternal self. That's one of them. I've written a book called The Power of the Mind, which is the different levels of consciousness in your mind.
Right.
I've written about healing, mechanisms of healing, because we heal the body, we heal the mind, and we heal the world.
Yeah.
You see, what's happened is that we've got a great bulk of people, 8 billion now, but we've been cutting down forests for centuries. And there needs to be a relationship between the massive forests and the massive humans. We need to build up the forest levels again, because that's where the oxygen is made in the green leaves. The green leaves, the green photosynthesis, it takes water and carbon dioxide. With the energy of sunlight, it produces oxygen, and it produces a substance. The chemical formula is C6H12O6, which is the basis of wood and the basis of food. So the greenery is, the bulk of it is important.
Yeah. Wow.
So I talk about that, but I also, I've written various books about surgery and the effect of the sun on the skin. Because I grew up in the tropics with a fair skin, and I've treated that sort of thing for many years.
Right. Oh my God. That's very.
Did I answer that question?
Well, because you've answered the question from the all our previous discussions, and I just wanted to bring that to a wrap. Do you have any inspiration and advice that you want to give, share with anyone out there who's listening to you today?
Yes, I do. The first thing is be happy. Doesn't matter what's going to happen. You can be happy independently of what is going to happen. And that happiness you spread to all the cells of your body, and in their happiness, they will make you well. Laughter is a great way of producing wellness, health. But at the same time, the happiness that you feel is consciousness, and consciousness projects. And by being happy, you influence the people around you. And believe it or not, you influence the world around you, because the energy of creation in structure of matter is influenced by your consciousness, because they're both the same sort of energy. That's why you can ask for a thing and hold on to it and see it forming or happening or occurring. So my advice to people is, whatever's happening, be happy.
Be happy. Be happy. So
be joyful.
Be joyful.
Wish this joy to the world. See, we live in the world at the present time is not only overcrowded and overheated, but there's a lot of unhappiness. And you must change that, because you are actually a much more powerful being than you know. And by projecting happiness to affect the world, you can help to change this anger that's sweeping the world, that people are all wanting to have upset, unhappiness, hatred, wars, all of that sort of thing. Project happiness to overcome all of that. And each individual consciousness that you and I are has an effect on all of this. You don't understand what a powerful consciousness you are. You can influence the world for good.
For good. For good. So we should project our positive energy rather than the negative one.
Yes, that's right. Always project a positive energy. And remember that by helping another, you are helping yourself, because we are all connected in our deeper consciousness. And part of that deeper consciousness that connects us all is what is known as God. the energy of universal creation that holds all matter in being, that holds universes. And remember, this universe is expanding. That's been shown. But there are other universes around it, held in different levels of energy frequency.
Yes, yeah.
Our science doesn't yet know enough to prove that or to disprove it.
Yeah.
But it is so. And people who've had past life experiences and written about it will all say what a wonderful feeling there is in those other worlds.
Right.
And we can have that feeling here by all projecting happiness, love, kindness, and the desire to help each other.
Help each other. Hey, thank you so much for joining us on our talk show, Dr. Anthony. Thank you so much. Thank you. And until next time, it's Shola and Dr. Anthony. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Thank you. And don't forget to buy his books. I'll share his website in the and description so we can all go buy his books. I'm sure they would teach us one thing or the other, especially the knowledge of consciousness. We, in this world that we live in, I think it's something that we all need to embrace and find out more on our levels of consciousness and how we can improve on that. And believe in what we have, especially our dreams, to make them.
And believe in goodness and love and happiness. That's what you have to believe in.
Okay, love, goodness, and happiness. We should believe in that. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Anthony. Bye.
It's a pleasure. Good night. Oh, good morning.
Oh, good morning.
Well, for me, it's good.
To you.
Yes, we're on a globe that keeps spinning.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Subscribe if you haven't done so. Like, follow, comment. Until next time. Goodbye.